Trese, Episode 5. After a rash of bombings, the council makes a surprising decision. Trese discovers who's been responsible for manipulating recent events all along. So yeah, we get answers, and I would say, you know what, this episode was really good, and unlike other episodes where the season finale, or I should say the setup to the season finale, because this is the setup to the season finale, this actually interweaves a bunch of things from previous episodes. So the previous episodes don't feel like they were just filler leading up to the season finale. Everything that happened in previous episodes play a part in what happens in this episode and what sets up for the next episode. I'm assuming, because I haven't watched the last episode yet, but I thought that was really cool. So let's get into it. So we start off with another flashback. This one takes place after the flashback from the previous episode. So this we have Anton and the council trying to decide what to do with Crispin and Basilo, the two young boys who later become Alexandra's bodyguards. So the Aswang on the council believe that they should just kill the boys, that the boys aren't innocent because they saw like violence and murder as games. Anton sees it differently. He sees them as, they were just boys. They were raised to be that way. But what if they were raised to be different? What if they were raised to actually be a part of a family? So Anton basically says, like, let me be in charge of the boys. Let me take care of them and raise them. And if they step out of line, I will be the one to end them. And the other council's members agree, some of them reluctantly, but they decide, all right, you know what, let's keep the council and the accords and the pact going. And Anton has a discussion with his daughter, Alexandra, where he kind of basically says the same thing. Like, we need to raise these boys as part of our family and show them that there's a better life than what Romana was teaching them to be. And then we cut to the present where we have Mayo Sancho. Mayo Sancho was the main antagonist of the first episode, and he's been in prison, and we've been getting little hints about what's been going on through television news reports. I talked a bit about that in the previous episode. Mayor Sancho is basically taking over the prison. The prisoner kind of follow his rules, and we see the prisoner dragging another prisoner into his little camp, and Mayo Sancho is basically cutting pieces of meat. And then the camera eventually pulls back to show that he's actually slicing pieces of meat from his body. And he's forcing the prisoners to eat his own flesh. And by doing this, he's able to control them. So it's this really kind of grotesque looking scene. And yeah, he feeds the prisoner the meat. And then we see the prisoner basically become a follower. And then that's when we cut to Alexandra, who's watching all this on the news. And eventually someone shows up, and this person is Maliksi. Maliksi is part of the Tikbalong clan. He is the son of the leader, and he basically tells Alexandra that the accord is no longer in play. The council decided to break up, basically because Sancho has been using his possessed prisoners to go and do the suicide bombs. So the suicide bomber in the previous episode was one of Sancho's men, and he's been using the prisoners to hit the headquarters of a bunch of the members of the council. And the council feel like Alexandra's not doing her part to keep them safe, and pretty much that the best way to keep themselves safe is for everyone to go about their own ways and do whatever they can to keep their own clans safe. And so the council is basically disbanded. The pact is no longer in session, and Alexandra's kind of on her own. But Maliksi basically says, even though we can't officially support you, the Tikbalong are on your side. If you need us, call us. And if you have any other friends out there, I suggest you call them to your aid right now, because things are about to go down. So now Alexandra goes and visits Hank, who has survived the explosion. He is critically injured though, and it turns out that Among, the dwarf dude that was visiting Hank during the moment of the explosion, Among put up a barrier to protect Hank as much as he can. Among died in the process though, so Among is dead. Hank is still alive. Alexandra uses some kind of magic to heal his external wounds, but I guess he's still kind of out of it, because he tries to get up out of bed to help her, but he can't. So she's like, just stay and rest, and I'm gonna go call in some favors and see what I can do. So she goes and she meets up with Joe Burt. Captain Guerrero is there, and they're going over video footage of all the suicide bombings. And Captain Guerrero points out that all the bombing, well, at least one of them was from a prison, and he assumes that all the other ones are going to be from the same prison. Yeah, he's just kind of catching us up to date on that. And then this is when we get our flashback. And this flashback is Alexandra has to take a trial to, I guess, set up to become the next Lacan. So Anton's talking to Alexandra, and he gives her the blade that she has used in all the other episodes. The blade is called Sanog, and he reveals that the blade is actually Alexandra's twin. I was kind of confused at that at first, but he explains that what happened was because Alexandra thought, like, I thought my twin died during childbirth. And he says, in a sense, she did. Like, we did everything we could to save her, but it wasn't enough. So instead, I guess they put her soul into the blade, and basically says, like, use the blade, that way, like, family will always be with you. So I guess Alexandra's twin is, her soul is inside the blade. And I was like, all right, that's kind of interesting. So we got a sentient blade in a sense, except the blade never actually speaks to her. So she shows up this path, and there's this giant tree, and all the council members are there. Did I say council? Council members. Yes, all the PS4s and Xboxes and Dreamcasts and Nintendos and all that stuff. They're all there to welcome Alexandra. No, all the council members are there, and yeah, Alexandra basically has to take her sword, go inside the tree, and do something. We're never really shown what she does or how she does it or anything like that, but she goes into the tree, and as she does, the Aswang leader shows up and basically calls out Antoine, and Antoine marches down to meet him. And then we cut to later where Alexandra, now older, cuts her way out of the tree, and she's kind of weak and exhausted, and Hank is there to meet her, and Hank's like, I knew you could do it. Like, I never gave up on you. I knew that you would survive these trials. And she asks, like, how long was I gone? And he says 5 years. So for 5 years, Alexandra was inside this tree doing who knows what. She even says, like, it felt like it was longer. So I don't know if she was, like, teleported to some other plane or what, but something happened to her inside the tree. And yeah, she comes out, she meets Hank, and of course the first thing she asks, other than how long was I gone, is where is my father? And Hank gives her the sad news that your father died protecting you. So I wonder if that means that the Aswang killed Antoine. So we finally get to see another moment of Alexandra actually showing some personality, where we see her having a breakdown in the shower. She's crying, she's emotional. Not only is her father dead, but she never got to say goodbye or tell him anything. I'm assuming she wanted to tell him, like, that she loved him and stuff, but she never got to. So now her mom is dead, her dad's dead, her twin died in childbirth, and now his soul is stuck inside a dagger. So all her family is pretty much gone. And yeah, she breaks down. And I'm assuming this is when, this is why she's so stoic and cold and off-putting in her personality, is because she kind of lost her family, and now she had to, not only did she lose her family, but she lost the remaining of her family while doing some horrible trial that we never really know what it was that she did. But I mean, apparently to her, it felt like she was in there for so many years, like more than just the 5 years that she actually was. And who knows what was going on. I mean, when she came out, she was pretty injured, and she could, like, barely walk. Yeah, while she was undergoing those intense trials, she lost her final family member, and yeah, she's got nobody left, and now she has this huge role kind of thrust upon her. Now she has to be the Lacan. She has to take over and be in charge of humanity's safety, and maybe all that just kind of got to her, and now that's why she's the way she is, where she's just very cold and stoic and lacking in personality. And she's just pretty much all about the job, and that's pretty much it. Because right after that, we see her beating the crap out of a punching bag. We see her locking off her hair, I guess showing that this is going to be the new her. We see her putting on the Lacan outfit that we always see her wearing. And yeah, I guess this is when Alexandra The girl dies, and now Alexandra the Lacan is reborn. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So then we see the prison where we see a bunch of the army outside with guns and tanks trained on the prison. And I'm wondering, why don't they just drop a bomb on this prison? I mean, there's nothing inside but prisoners, and you're assuming that they're all working for Sancho, and they're all pretty much suicide bombers. So just drop a bomb, blow up the place, but they don't. But anyways, Alexandra shows up, and we see her talking to one of the soldiers, and he's kind of explaining, like, like, I don't really see how magic is going to help us. Like, are you sure, like, magic is involved and stuff? And she's like, yeah, like, everything that's going on has to do with magic. I need to get inside and I need to confront Sancho. And he's like, well, you're going to have to talk to, the general if you want to get inside. As this is going on, we see a lunch lady feeding stew to a bunch of the soldiers. This is going to play a part later on. I'm assuming you can guess where this is going. But Alexandra talks to the general, and the general is like, all right, you can go inside, but you're going in with soldiers, and my men are the ones who are going to be in charge. And Alexandra kind of is like, I'm going to go in there whether you come with me or not. Like, I'm not following anybody's orders, in a sense. Before anything can escalate, there's an explosion. So maybe Sancho and the prisoners come out. Before the soldiers can do anything, the lunch lady shows up behind them. Turns out that she's been possessed, and she has a bunch of bombs strapped to her, and she detonates them, causing a huge explosion. And now all the soldiers are in disarray. Maybe Sancho gives like a few phrases in Latin, and all of a sudden the soldiers who are eating the stew become possessed and start turning on the general and Alexandra and her men. And so now we got a situation where they're locked down. They're stuck behind some barricades as they're getting shot at. And the general's like, we can't be shooting our men, so you have to try to take them out without killing them. And so we have that whole situation going down. So Crispin and Basilio start shooting at the prisoners. They start shooting at, the prisoners' legs. Alexandra kicks a few of them. So they're doing like non-lethal takedowns. And right before they can get to Sancho, a giant mud wall comes up. And it turns out that the one who's been leading Sancho is actually Nuno, the little goblin friend who's been giving Alexandra information and stuff. It turns out that he's the big mastermind. It turns out that what happened was he wanted to be a part of the council, but Anton not only said no or rejected him, but the council kind of laughed at him. Like, they laughed him out. And I guess he took that very personally. So now this is his way of getting revenge. He's going to take over the city and possibly the world using Sancho's flesh and possessing everybody and stuff like that. And this is where we get the cool moment where it turns out that for the mayor to get his powers, he needed a little bit of everything. He needed fur from I forgot the name of the creatures, the horse creatures that Alexandra raced in episode 2. He needed blood from a semi-god, which he got from the dude that Alexandra killed in episode 2. He needed the bones of an innocent, which he got from the baby feral goblin from the actress episode. So basically all those episodes played a part in getting the materials that he needed to be able to pull off this plan. I was like, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool how you set all this up. Like, all the previous episodes led up to this moment. So I like that. I like how everything's kind of foreshadowed and built up rather than just like each episode's kind of its own thing, and then the final episode, the final 2 episodes are paired together. It's like you can kind of see it like that, but everything in previous episodes led up to this one. And I thought it was also interesting that Nuno's like telling them you have a traitor in your midst. Like, everyone's kind of warning Alexandra that there's a traitor in the midst and amongst her friends, and it turned out to be the one person that she constantly relied on for information. So yeah, we get a fight scene basically where Alexandra, Crispin, and Basilio are trying to get at the mayor and Nuno, but every time they try, the mud golems form like a shield around them and keep knocking Alexandra away, and there's nothing that she can do about it. So eventually, she comes up with a plan. And she's like, all right, I need you guys to circle around from behind and shoot at the mayor from behind. And Crispin and Boss are like, what's the point in that? They're just going to erect a barrier. And Alexandra's like, yes, that's what I want to happen. So they go and they do that. Meanwhile, Alexandra charges straight on ahead. Sancho kind of taunts her, like, I don't know why you're trying to do this. Like, we're impenetrable. And she's like, yeah, that's what I'm betting on. And as they're raising up the mud dome to protect themselves, Alexandra pulls out her cell phone, dials the number that calls Santelmo, the fire demon. So she dials the number, throws it into the dome just as the dome finishes, and he gets summoned and he explodes, killing Nuno and Sancho, but also destroying the phone. So now Alexandra cannot call on the fire demon. I don't know if that's like she can no longer call on the fire demon again, or if she has to get a new phone or something. I wonder what the phone plan for that's going to be. It's like, yeah, I need the new Apple iPhone, and I want to make sure that the Saltimo app is installed because I may need his help. Yeah, so we think, all right, there we go. The big bad is done, and we finished it on the 5th episode. And that's what I thought too. I was like, wow, that was kind of cool, but I feel like that was kind of anticlimactic. Like you built all this up for this big final showdown, and then you end it right at the reveal. Like Nuno gets revealed, and then Nuno gets killed in the same episode. Like not even 10 minutes apart from his reveal, he's dead, and the mayor is dead too. So what was all this build up for? Like that kind of sucked. But before Alexandra and her man and stuff can celebrate, the general shows up and he grabs Crispin and Basilo and knocks them down and cracks their mask and basically knocks them out. He turns to Alexandra and tells them, like, it's not over yet. Like Nuno and Sancho were just my underlings. Like they weren't the ones in charge. I am. And he rips open his flesh, and it turns out that this is Romano's lover and Crispin and Basilo's father. This is the guy that Anton fought in the previous episode and got stabbed with a spear. So he's the big main honcho. And yeah, we're going to see what happens. I guess the next episode is going to be the final showdown. So yeah, there you go. There's Trese, episode 5. The council is no more. Alexandra does have a few friends, though. Besides, Crispin and Basilo and the golems. The Tikbalong showed up to help her. And so did the wind nymphs from the 2nd episode. They showed up to help clear out the soldiers. Let's see if any other council members are going to show up to give her aid, or if they're all on their own. What's going to happen with the pact? What does this guy want? Apparently he's the god of war, or at least that's what they refer to him as. So does he just want to be the god of everything now? We don't really know, but I'm assuming we're going to find out in the next episode, which is going to be the season finale. And I'm hoping that there's a 2nd season. As far as the time of this recording, there hasn't really been any news on that, but hopefully we do, because I enjoy this. I've been enjoying this series so far. And yeah, let's hope that the final episode ends on a strong note. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you next time. Later.